Hi, I'm John, and I'm a level 1 chef.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a level 2 chef.
Hi, I'm Airis. I'm a chef and instructor, and I've been a professional chef for 18 years.
So today I'm making a very simple chicken and sausage gumbo. This is my first time ever making gumbo in my life. It's definitely something that I did not grow up eating here in New York City.
This gumbo is pretty special to me because I'm using duck, which is always a great protein, andouille, which is close to my heart, being from Louisiana, and I'm using filet powder, which is a different thickening agent rather than okra, which you primarily see in seafood gumbo.
So the gumbo I'm making today, seafood gumbo, it would be classified as Creole. So you have Creole, which is like the fancy imports, and then you have Cajun, which are still some imports, but more focused on what we had on the land.
For my proteins, I'm going to be using rotisserie chicken and kielbasa. Generally, people use some kind of sausage, maybe andouille. I've never used that before, so I just went with kielbasa.
So the first thing I'm going to do is slice my andouille sausage. Andouille sausage is a smoked pork sausage.
I'm a big believer that sausage should always be pork.
It's kind of like a Cajun bratwurst.
But it plays a great co-star to all of this beautiful seafood.
So we're gonna take this duck and separate it out. I've never really broken down a duck before, but if you just kind of follow the bones, like the joints, it should come off pretty easy. All right, so we got our legs off. Toss them in the bowl. And now we're looking for the breast.
So for the rotisserie chicken, I like to cut right down the middle, and then I'm gonna cut along the side to get all that beautiful breast meat. I'm just gonna pull the skin off here, as you can see, super easy.
What's important about using the whole animal is it's really sustainable. Nothing goes to waste. You're really honoring the bird. You're honoring the food. Gumbo is a symbol of love.
I could use all the other meat, but there's something about that white breast meat that I really like.
We're gonna use every part of this shrimp except the veins. Just peeling them nice and easily, and just make a nice slit right down the back. Usually the vein or the guts will come right out, but if they don't, just use your paring knife.
If I saw this in a restaurant, I would be kind of wondering what went on to this poor duck breast. But it'll be delicious as gumbo.
Have my breast meat here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and make nice, simple chops, nothing fancy, ideally no bigger than the size of our sausage here.
For our gumbo, this is just a little bit too big of a portion, so I'm gonna put it flat with the meat side facing up, and then I'm gonna take a cleaver, hold it, and chop. You can break it. There's gonna be a little tail piece at the back of it. Take that off, and that's it.
The next thing we have is this tasso. It is a Louisiana smoked ham. It's seasoned. So I'm just chopping them into slices to kind of, make it a little bit more manageable.
And you might be wondering why we have two types of crab, lump crab meat and crab in the shell. My definition, honestly, the lump crab meat is for people who don't want to work too hard for their crab meat, and then the whole crabs are for people who want to work for their crab. We just are gonna add these oysters like at the very, very end. All right, and here are my proteins for my seafood gumbo.
Now our protein has been broken down, and we're gonna work on our aromatics.
I also learned that when you have, your onion, celery, and bell pepper, that they call it the Trinity.
In New Orleans cooking, this is in everything. It's the backbone of almost all cooking.
And usually it has a special co-star, a fourth,
Garlic.
They call garlic the Pope because the clove actually resembles the mitre.
Yeah, I put garlic in everything, and I'm definitely a fan of the more garlic, the better.
When you're cutting your vegetables, you're gonna have some waste. We're actually gonna keep those scraps because we're gonna use those for our shrimp stock later. I'm gonna start with my celery.
Our celery's cut. Now we're gonna cut the bell pepper. If somebody from New Orleans says they don't like green pepper, they're lying to you because they've had it in everything since birth.
Sure, you could use a different pepper if you want. Actually, no, don't quote me on that. Stick to green pepper for this.
So now I'm gonna cut the onion.
Gonna cry a little bit, but it's okay. It's COVID, we're all used to crying.
So I might start crying.
So the reason why we're putting all the vegetables in separate bowls is because we're gonna add them to the gumbo at separate times. And the first vegetable to go into the pot is gonna be the onions.
It can go in the same bowl as the celery because it all goes in at the same time.
So next we're gonna cut the okra.
You know, I know some people add okra to this dish. I don't really know how to cook with it, so no okra for me. Sticking to stuff I know and like.
When I have gumbo, I have to have okra in it.
I think you don't need okra, but again, if you're a diehard gumbo fan, you absolutely need it. Please don't come for me. This is just my first attempt.
Taste my gumbo. I'll make you a crossover fan to okra for sure.
And then I have some chopped parsley. Lastly, I have thyme. Best part about thyme is it's really easy to handle. You simply just do that.
And also fresh bay leaves. So there we have it. These are all our vegetables and our aromatics.
I went with a store-bought stock because I don't have time to make my own stock, but this costs a few bucks, and all I need is one bad boy like this, throw it in, and I'm ready to go.
Now we can actually get to making the stock. The broken apart duck and the bones. I'm gonna toss that into the pot, and then the celery, the quartered onion, the bay leaf, the thyme, the garlic, all of that. I've just wrapped in a cheesecloth, like little tea bag almost.
So this beautiful chicken stock includes chicken broth, which is water, chicken rosemary extract.
I have about 5 or 6 quarts of water.
Cover all the meat and everything that's already in there, like by about like an inch.
Chicken flavor, cane sugar, yeast extract, and onion powder. For something like this, and you know, trying to make it easy and pretty quick, something that anyone can do, use the store-bought stuff. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just as simple as turning on the fire and dumping everything in. So I'm gonna add my shrimp shells and the rest of my vegetables. I'm gonna bring this to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. Then I'm gonna leave it on the fire for about 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, and it's fully organic too.
So I'm gonna strain it now because we no longer need the vegetable scraps or the shrimp shells. All we need is the liquid. The color of the stock is like kind of like a beautiful golden color, and we're ready to go.
So we're basically gonna put it off to the side and get started with the fun stuff. We're gonna make a roux.
From what I've been finding in my research, the most important step is the roux. And a roux essentially is a thickening agent.
It's combined of 2 parts only. Fat and flour. It gives your gumbo or whatever it is you're using your roux in some thickness and some viscosity.
So right here, just have half a stick of butter. You're gonna let that melt down completely.
There's a joke in New Orleans that every recipe starts with, first you make a roux. And it sounds easy when you say it like that, and it is easy. It just takes a little bit of practice and patience.
If you try to speed up the process by maybe raising the fire to get it darker quicker, you'll burn it. And once you burn your roux, you have to throw it out and start all over again.
Everything I read said, must have a roux, do not burn it.
Okay, here goes nothing, kids. So I have my handy dandy rendered duck fat. This is 1 cup.
I have my oil all measured out and I have my flour all measured out. So I have 1 cup of flour to 1 cup of oil.
So I used half a stick of butter to a 1/4 cup of flour. And I guess it's roughly even proportions, I would say. Roughly, don't quote me on that. Not a mathematician.
Everybody knows that you use a wooden spoon when you're making roux. 1, because you need the spoon to get into all of the corners and crevices of your pot. And 2, so you don't scratch up the bottom of your pot as well.
I have my handy dandy hot pink spatula here, which I am so excited to use. And you know, it's got a little bit of fairy magic, just like me.
So I'm gonna go ahead and add my flour. My oil is nice and hot, and you should hear sizzle.
And then the stirring begins.
You can never stop stirring roux. Like, it literally takes moments for your roux to burn.
A little apprehensive about this part just because it is pretty labor intensive. Like I said, it's probably the hardest part of this pretty simple dish. But you know me, I approach cooking with gusto and excitement and probably some overconfidence.
Well, it's like a nice nutty aroma, and that's what you want to have.
This is some delicious Cajun goodness right here. And I just want it a little bit darker because why not just go the extra mile?
So earlier, I reminded everybody to keep their vegetables separate. specifically the onions. So the sugars from the onion are gonna help the roux to get to a darker, richer brown color. I'm gonna add my onions now, and I can already see now that the color is starting to change. Next, I'm gonna add the celery, and I don't have to let the celery cook quite as much. The roux is not gonna get any darker. This is it.
So now our roux is a nice, deep, dark caramel color. It's time to add in our vegetables and aromatics. So we have our holy trinity here. And we're just gonna pop it right in to the roux.
The roux immediately will cool down, so you don't have to worry about scorching it, but you still want to make sure you stir it.
So I'm gonna let the aromatics cook for about 5 minutes. Just get a little soft. We don't want them fully cooked because they're gonna cook in the broth.
Once you add the celery or other vegetables, it's gonna stop the cooking of the roux. So now I'm adding my green bell pepper. And last but not least,
Garlic.
Oh my God.
It smells so good that if you just went by smell, you would feel like you could stop here.
The next thing we have is this tasso, raw duck breast. Each time you add an ingredient, just make sure you stir, so it's not just pile, pile, pile like a 7-layer burrito.
So next I'm gonna add my andouille. Next, I'm gonna add my crabs and just get it all mixed in.
My kielbasa. Got some Cajun seasoning here. This is definitely what's gonna give it that nice kick, that taste, some heat. Now I'm gonna add in my fire roasted diced tomatoes. It honestly is a smell I did not grow up with, and that's what I love about this dish. It's clearly not something in my current repertoires.
This is an odor that's basically in our bones. It's in our DNA. So now we're adding the garlic. So in here I have cayenne pepper, salt, pepper, and a couple of bay leaves.
It's very important to make your own stock. You're not gonna be able to buy stock that's made with Trinity. You're gonna find stock that's made with mirepoix. So it's gonna have carrots in it, that carrot, celery, and onion.
And then last, our low sodium chicken stock.
So it's important that your stock is hot before you add it because you want it to be able to easily incorporate with your roux.
We add the stock now and the rest of the duck meat that I have reserved. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of crystal sauce. It's a little less vinegary than Tabasco. And then Worcestershire adds a little bit more umami.
And I'm gonna add my aromatics, my
One bay leaf,
and my 2 sprigs of thyme. And I'll also add a little salt and a little pepper. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil.
Then reduce it to a simmer and let it cook uncovered for about an hour.
We should have gumbo goodness in about an hour and 15.
So while this is going on, I'm gonna start cooking my okra. Once you get it in the pan, you wanna kinda leave it because you wanna brown it. I'm gonna add some salt and I'm gonna add some black pepper. It's going into my pot. I'm gonna let my gumbo come to a boil and then I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer and then I'm gonna let it go for about an hour.
So it's been cooking for about an hour. There's 2 ways to thicken gumbo. One is through the vegetable, okra, and the other is filet powder. And filet powder is made from dried sassafras leaves. Just kind of sprinkle it on and stir. And this is also, I'm going to take this opportunity to put that fresh parsley we cut into the gumbo.
So now that it's cooked for about an hour and really cooked down, gonna go ahead and add in my rotisserie chicken, which we cut up earlier. And because I did a nice rough chop, you can really see all the components of this dish. It's just all there, it's so beautiful.
So our gumbo has been simmering for about 45 minutes to an hour. So let's add our crab meat first. Next, I'm gonna add the shrimp. And now I'm gonna add the oysters.
So now that my gumbo is all finished, it's time to plate it up.
So our gumbo is complete, and we're gonna get this gumbo plated.
I prefer to put gumbo in the bowl first and then the rice. I just think it's a prettier presentation.
You gotta have a base of white rice.
I'm gonna add a little rice first.
So you're just gonna put a little, good generous mound on it.
So I'm just gonna ladle some in. You wanna make sure you have a lot of the good broth that you took so much time to develop. And the crab is like a reward. And some fresh scallions on top.
And then we're gonna garnish it with a little cut
Green onions. And here's my chicken and sausage gumbo.
So this is my duck and andouille filet gumbo, Heather style.
And this is our New Orleans seafood gumbo.
Let's see if we've put as much love in it as I wanted to. All right, here goes.
Oh my God.
That's so good.
Oh my God. This is really good. It tastes really like homey, for lack of a better term. It tastes really, really homey. I'm gonna finish this whole thing on camera if you don't stop me.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Everything in this gumbo was a super fresh ingredient, and I think that makes all the difference in any recipe that you're preparing, but specifically in this gumbo, it makes it superior. New Orleans grandmother approved.
Gumbo is steeped in the culinary tradition of New Orleans, a city that has its own unique food culture not duplicated anywhere else. Let's see how each of our 3 chefs made theirs. John's proteins were a conveniently bought rotisserie chicken and smoked kielbasa sausage. Kielbasa is a cured and smoked sausage with a casing made from the submucosal layer of pork intestines. Its persistent pink color comes from sodium nitrite, which reacts with the meat myoglobin to cause color changes. The sodium nitrite first converts nitrosomyoglobin, which is bright red, then, upon heating, to nitrosohemochrome, which has a pink pigment. Heather used a combination of duck, tasso ham, and andouille sausage.
This is something that is very common. It speaks to home. Love.
Tasso is a dried pork product that's seasoned with garlic, cayenne pepper, and salt before being heavily smoked. It's used as a pungent seasoning for gumbos, soups, and vegetables, and is most often used in traditional Cajun recipes. It's a deeper color than fresh or cured hams because it's rich in the pigment myoglobin, which delivers oxygen to this working muscle. Andouille sausage is a spicy, coarse-ground pork-based sausage smoked over pecan wood and sugar cane both before and after it's put into the casings. It's a semi-dry sausage, so lower in water, and ends up getting its flavor from the spices, lactic acid fermentation, and smoking process. Airis made a seafood gumbo made with large shrimp, blue crabs, lump crab meat, oysters, and andouille. Shrimp and crabs are crustaceans that start out bluish and then change color once they're cooked. The color change happens when a protein is liberated from carrier molecules when heat is added, giving you that pinkish color in shrimp or reddish color associated with crabs. Oysters are bivalves that have a sweetness from their higher glycogen content and savory flavor in part from succinic acid, often associated with umami. Umami taste serves as a signal to our bodies that we've eaten a protein, triggering the body's production of saliva and digestive juices that assist in proper digestion of the protein. John used packaged low-sodium chicken stock for his broth. It's high in glutamate and generally contains something that you often see on the labels of processed foods: natural flavoring. Natural flavoring is a generic term to describe chemical extraction of flavoring compounds from natural foods. Its significant function in food is as a flavoring rather than nutritional. Flavor chemists are good at isolating natural volatile aroma compounds and molecules using gas chromatography, or GCMS, which is gas chromatograph with a mass spectrometer.
Oh, and it's fully organic too.
One issue with using pre-made packaged stock is John has no control over the flavor. So his stock contains ingredients that wouldn't normally be used in gumbo or New Orleans cuisine.
I don't even want an essence of a carrot in my gumbo.
Heather made her own duck stock. Using the combination of bones and meats means that she'll extract a lot of flavor from the meat and gelatin from the bones, making a rich and slightly viscous stock. Airis made a shrimp stock by boiling shrimp shells in seasoned water. This is a quick broth to make because the shrimp shells are made strong by the presence of a polysaccharide called chitin, while land animal stocks rely on bones to impart the flavor and viscosity. John included what is known as the Trinity in Louisiana cooking: onion, celery, and bell pepper. Green bell peppers are unripe. They get their distinctive taste from a combination of subtle phthalides and isobutyl methoxypyrazine that they contain, imparting a green and grassy note. Heather flavored her gumbo with the Trinity and her own addition of thyme, garlic, onion, and parsley. Airis also used the Trinity. This is gumbo after all. She also included garlic and bay leaves as well as thyme. Thyme is a member of the mint family, and its aroma comes from a compound called thymol, for which it's named. John used a roux to thicken his gumbo. A roux is equal parts fat and starch cooked together. Starch particles are coated by the fat, making them easier to disperse in a soup or a sauce. Once dispersed in the hot stock, hydrogen bonds in the starch are broken and water interacts with the starch so that the mixture becomes thick. A light roux has maximum thickening power because the starch molecules, which start out long and bushy because there's thousands of molecules linked together in one starch particle, can interact very well with water. However, John made a brown roux, which means he cooked it until the starches were broken down into simple sugars and formed dextrins, which are short chains of starch. Dextrinized or brown roux has far less thickening powder than a blonde or light roux. Using butter as its fat encourages browning because of the presence of milk proteins in the butter.
When you use a butter roux, that's for sauces like bechamels and like those types of sauces that are going to be light and more delicate.
John was careful to stir his roux while browning, which was good because butter may burn more easily due to its lower smoke point.
If your roux is burnt, you got to do it over.
Heather made a dark roux using her duck fat.
I had that whole duck and it had all that gorgeous skin.
But also added filet powder to her gumbo to aid in thickening and to add an earthy, herbal flavor note just before serving her gumbo. Filet powder is the ground leaves of the sassafras tree and it's high in mucilage. It's added at the end because if it's overcooked, it can become ropey or stringy. Airis made a dark roux as well. But like Heather, she also has a second thickener in her gumbo in the form of okra. Okra is a green pod with a unique and distinctive 5-cornered shape. It's also distinctive because it's characterized by a slightly slimy polysaccharide mucilage. This is a combination of starch and some protein that acts to preserve water in the plant. When it's cut, okra releases this mucilage into the gumbo, increasing viscosity. Okra is green and mild in flavor. So it's the thickening quality of this local Louisiana ingredient that makes it so special in gumbo. John first made his brown roux, added his bell peppers, onion, and celery, and cooked them until they were soft. Then he added his garlic and kielbasa, saving his pre-cooked white chicken meat until the very end so that it would not be overdone and tough to eat.
Because it's pre-cooked chicken, just gonna let it warm through.
Heather first made her duck fat roux. Duck fat is higher in mono and polyunsaturated fatty acids, so it has a higher smoke point than the butter that John used. She added the flavorful tasso, duck breast meat, and andouille with her seasonings, and then added her duck stock gradually until she got the thickness just right.
It looks like we just made a gumbo, right?
Airis made her deep brown roux and added and cooked her onions first to impart the sweetness and savory flavor from the thiosulfonates.
You always want to hear sounds when you're cooking. You want your food to talk to you.
She then added her blue crabs and andouille and her green peppers and garlic. She let this cook for a long time before adding her shrimp, oysters, and lump crab meat in the final few minutes.
We're just adding and building the flavors in this gumbo right up to the very end.
Seafood cooks very quickly because muscle fibers and collagen in fish coagulate at lower temperatures and cook more quickly than meat. All three of our chefs serve their hearty, delicious, and savory gumbo in a bowl with long grain rice as is traditional, with each bite offering a mouth-watering combination of flavors and textures.
This is definitely restaurant-grade seafood gumbo.
Next time you're in the mood for a satisfying soup or stew, go for gumbo. We hope you'll use some of the tips and techniques from our three chefs and let the good times roll.